Well, still on the Anambra elections issues, joining us this morning is the Director General of the Ngige campaign organization, George Mokalu. He joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, for ABGA, INEC was fantastic on that day, and for some other candidates, they have come together to also say it was a good process. 20 out of the 21 local governments in Anambra State were adjudged to be free, fair and credible, just one local government. So why would you think otherwise?
Fine, I'm going to take you straight from the point of INEC themselves. You said 20 of the 21 local governments were judged to be correct. The same INEC also has declared there are problems in 162 polling units in 10 out of 21 local governments in the state, where they cancelled 113,000 votes. The same INEC who is saying that they did an election and they accept results, elections held perfectly all right in 20 local governments, leaving only one, Idemili not, I guess. They are the same people who have now on their own cancelled elections in 162 polling units in 10 out of 21 local governments in the state and cancelled 113,000 votes.
Is that why you were actually calling for an outright cancellation?
As far as we are concerned, there was no election in Anambra State on November 16th.
Tell us
when you talk about supplementary election, that presupposes there was an election. It was a mere charade. How can you conduct an election in a state where over 60 to 70% of the voters are disenfranchised? You come to a polling booth, people will come to vote, and their names are not there. The same people had their names in the polling points where they're supposed to vote in the last elections, and they all have their voters' cards. And they come there and their names are no more on the voters' register. Meanwhile, these issues were issues we raised because we had information. If you took note, I addressed a press conference about 5-6 days before the election.
Who did you raise it with?
I raised it with the public. We even raised it with INEC. I addressed the World Press Conference. I said there's going to be voter manipulation, voter register manipulation, targeted at areas they consider areas of strength for Dr. Chris Ngige. I mentioned the Idemili North, I mentioned the Idemili South, I talked about Obere, I talked about Onitsha South, I talked about Oka South. That are going to manipulate the voters register. There is no law that says that it is inherent on the voter to go and revalidate his voter's card. No, there's no law like that. The onus lies on INEC. Because once you're electronically registered, you have a voter's card. INEC, I'm surprised that up to this point, they don't see themselves as having caused us a national embarrassment.
It's very interesting that you say what you say. I mean, but one is also wondering if you're not exaggerating things.
I'm not, because the facts are available.
You talked about 60 to 70% of voters being disenfranchised.
Correct.
Some people are saying that that is not exactly true. That is stretching the truth a little.
No. You see, I'm talking about an election where you come to a polling point, for example, where you have about 600 or 700 registered voters. And about 500 don't find their names on the voters register. 300, 400.
We had correspondents on the ground. They did not report that sort of disenfranchisement. Yes, there were areas where people did not find their names on the voters register, but massively like that wasn't what was reported.
We have documentary evidence to prove. Because recordings were, as your correspondents were doing the same, we were also doing it. Because we were forewarned. We were expecting it.
You were expecting it?
Yes.
You were given a voters register about a month to the election.
No, we had the voters register.
Did you look at it?
Yes, correct.
A couple of days before the election, you were given another voters register. Did you look at it?
Why would you? It is not a responsibility.
Whose responsibility?
It's INEC.
No, the second voters register
was given to us.
Did you look at it?
No, see. It was given to us on Wednesday. Either Wednesday or Thursday, after the stakeholders meeting.
Okay.
And you expect us, between Thursday, there's a curfew on Friday, preceding the election. So within a space of 24 hours, we'll go down.
No, I want to understand, so if I may come here. Are you saying, because you're mandated to look at the voters register.
Right.
You were given the first one.
Yeah.
You looked at it.
Yes.
And then you were given another one.
Yeah.
A couple of days to the elections.
took
And you did not think it wise to look at it.
A day and a half.
You did not think it wise to look at it. Why?
Because we took what the chairman of INEC told us, whole line and sinker. That everything they did is correct. That the voters register they're using is the exact voters register electronically generated.
Are you not painting a picture of, I'm sorry to say, incompetent if you could not have checked your voters register again to ensure that it's the same thing as what you got before?
No, listen. Before the voters register was given to us, this voters register, electronic voters register, was pasted at all polling points, and people went there to check their names. Thereafter, INEC gave us voters registers, which we now distributed across the state to our party members. And we all went through these voters registers and said, okay, fine, we are ready for the elections. And barely less than 48 hours before the election, another voters register was given to us. Less than 48 hours.
And they told you there was slight correction.
No. What happened was that they said that there were the issue of age.
Aggregation.
Yes. Simple. That's why I brought you a CD for you to play and see what questions we asked.
Which the INEC chairman said, I mean, the INEC chairman was said to have, berated political parties for not even noticing the difference, that some people, because they just registered, I mean, the age difference was taking people back by 2 years, and it was seen that none of the political parties noticed it.
No, it's gross incompetence on the part of INEC, because that's their primary responsibility. We've been hearing repeatedly that electronic voter registration, they've consistently talked about voter register, consistently.
I'm a little disturbed that you took the pains to hold a world press conference on what you term voter manipulation. Yet, when you were given the voter register, you didn't take the pains to go through it and at least have something to substantiate your claims.
No, listen. When we raised the information, because we got advanced information from our sources, that they are going to manipulate the election through tampering with the voters register.
So when did you get the information?
About 3-4 days before the election. And that
was before you were given the voter register?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So when we got this information, we brought it to the public knowledge. Not only that, the issue of using fake youth corpers, issue of using thugs, police, security agencies against agents of parties, we announced it to the public. So when the stakeholders meeting was called, about 48 hours to the elections, my principal, in the course of question, raised this issue, and he was reassured by no less a person than the chairman of INEC that nothing of sort will happen. Nothing of sort will happen.
But and
thereafter, after the meeting, we are given CDs, voters register.
So the voters register were on your CDs, and nobody took pains to look through it, just for the sake of confirmation.
No. You see, how do you? For example, now we have 1.7 million voters in the voters register, electronically generated. 1,780,000 electronically generated,
and they were not broken down into units.
No, spread across the 21 local governments, 326 electoral wards. Right. And when we got the initial one, we printed them out and circulated them across the 326 electoral wards. Except for a few minor cases, our people gave us returns and said, okay, we're fine with it. And we prepared our elections based on the information made available to us by INEC. 48 hours to the election, no less a person than the chairman of INEC announces to us that there was slight alteration that has to do with age, not removing the names of registered voters from the register. We have every reason to believe him, especially when they be flying the mantra they are going to conduct a free and fair election. But only for us to get to the polling points